three important positive elements that we can talk about. First is condemning any potential or any talk of a nuclear option. So nuclear balance and safety in the world, nuclear being a deterrent, but never ever used, because that would mean the end of the world. Second is the protection of civilian population, where I think China can do a lot to put pressure on Russia to not hit civilian infrastructure. And the third aspect is precisely the reinforcement of the principle of state sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence, which we have all provided actually to Ukraine and through the Budapest memorandum, where Ukraine gave up on nuclear weapons, which could have been a deterrent against this aggression, in exchange for security guarantees and recognition, including from Russia. Those are the principles that we have to proceed on forward. However, of course, we also have to be mindful, again, of our values and the value system and the world order. And we have to absolutely protect them in Ukraine and in the rest of the world, because any backing away or any kind of a weak attitude that we displayed back in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea is sending the wrong message that, our collective will is not strong enough. So we, therefore, will not resist any attempt at trying to wage a war against our values and our institutions.
It seems that sanctions are actually the weapons of choice by the West. Will that continue?
Yes,
Have they worked?
And I think that sanctions are working, honestly. Everybody's saying, yes, immediately. Russia has been making money still on selling crude, they haven't really broke Russia down and stopped the war, but that wasn't the intention. But Russia is hurting badly from the sanctions long term. And I can tell you one thing from my conversations with Putin when I was president of Croatia. Just to cut a long story short, we didn't even discuss NATO enlargement that much, which was one of the pretexts for this invasion. We didn't even discuss much the fact that openly in our press conferences, I would support Ukraine's sovereignty, territorial integrity, etc. What hurt him most was energy, and the fact that I supported the building of the LNG in Croatia. And the amount of time that he spent in trying to persuade me not to build that LNG goes to show how important energy and the economy is for him. So having lost the EU as the biggest market for Russia, it certainly must hurt.
I have some great questions, so thank you so much for sending them in. Lord Derek, if the West gives up on Ukraine, does that raise the chances of a China invasion of Taiwan?
My short answer to that is yes, maybe it does. I think the Chinese are watching what is happening in Ukraine. They're watching Western moves and Western solidarity very closely. And if we fail to last the course, if we start to fall apart at some stage in the next 12 months, just because we can't take the costs and the pressure, then I think China will draw conclusions from that about the likely reaction should they go further than they've done already, on already bullying and intimidating and behaving aggressively towards Taiwan. And of course it's a long-term objective of President Xi's to reunite China and Taiwan. Yes, they would draw some lessons from that.
Do you agree?
Well, certainly it would be my wishful thinking to say I should hope not. But yes, this is a huge test case that will have lessons learned for everyone, for us, for China, and for anyone else in the world.
Madam President, do you truly believe, this is a question to you, that NATO would be prepared to enact Article 5 if Russia strikes a member state?
I do believe so. I do believe so. And I do believe, looking at Croatia, I used to say a lot that had Croatia been a member state of NATO at the time of aggression against Croatia in the 90s, it would never have happened. And had Ukraine been a member of NATO, I don't think that this kind of open aggression of Russia's would have happened. And I think that the 2014 incursion that started this whole process would have been stopped or prevented altogether.
Lord Derek, what are the prospects of a Russian victory?
If it goes on for a long time, if the performance of the Red Army now so far has been abject. They have been tactically inept. They've been strategically seem to have no idea. Morale is very low. Their equipment has been shown up to be nothing like as good as we expected. And the generals, clearly their leadership has been very poor. One imagines that they can learn the lessons of this disastrous first year and they can get better. The big advantage they have over Ukraine is they're a much bigger country with potentially a much, much bigger army, so they can keep, and they throw more people, albeit ill-trained recruits, into the war. So if it lasts a long time,